This is American Nomad News. Darren Marchant reporting.
This is Darren Marchant with American Nomad News. And you may have noticed I put up a couple of experimental quote-unquote music videos. They're definitely in line with the kind of stuff that I saw from an ex-roommate of mine, a guy by the name of Fedge. That's Jeff spelled backwards. I miss Fedge. Fedge is a really cool guy. I hope he's doing well. I haven't seen much activity from his site for several years. He was an experimental musician and made some stuff that really is not for the average ear. And that's the nature of experimental music. He was working on new sounds, trying to find new sounds, and it's kind of challenging. And I've been working with nothing but an Android cell phone and relatively little experience with certain kinds of computer work. For a lot of years, I've been dependent on libraries to do computer work, which means you can't create content. You just can't. The libraries are basically the most oppressive system. The only thing they want from you is your personal information and all of it, and no creativity. They will not put any real creative software on their computers other than something it takes to put up a resume or contact your email and things like that. But as far as actually creating content and making, some sort of contribution to society, it's not going to happen through the library. So I did a lot of research. I studied a lot of Wikipedia articles. I saved a lot of PDFs. I studied PDFs. I studied different kinds of file formats. I did a lot of that kind of work. And ever since getting a camera and a couple of laptops that lasted very not long at all, I was able to make content and explore what that was like through YouTube and things like that. Well, when the library shut down, as in went down to 1 hour a day of use of a computer and just using COVID as an excuse to shut me down and shut down anyone that wants to use the libraries to actually get anything done. Which led me to the conclusion we really don't need libraries. We need our tax money back. The older I get, the more of a Republican I become. And yet I'm still all for pot legalization. I'm definitely all for pardons for people who have pot-only offenses on their records, people who are in jail after legalization because of pot violations prior to legalization. I think that really there needs to be some amnesty going on. I'm not for violent criminals getting out of prison. Once you violate the gross aggregate of society's will against certain kinds of behavior, you cause too much harm to society. It's just, and there's a difference between society trying to figure out, leaders in society trying to figure out how to provide for food, and somewhere along the way, without any intention of harm, people start to get fat, or they start to get diabetes, or they start to get whatever, because they're not doing their own research, they're not paying attention to the health warnings, they're eating too much sugar, it is really hard to lead. I get that. And so I've been working on understanding all these things about presentation and so forth. And this Android phone is sufficient for a lot of that, actually. It's a pain in the butt, though. They're super hard to control. The apps are almost to a one. They're inherently flawed. A lot of the flaws are intentional. They're meant to sabotage your experience so that you will pay for a better experience. Makes me not really trust the companies anyway. I'm all for open source if I could only get my own computer. But then, hey, living on the street, it's kind of hard to haul around a desktop computer. Really, just that doesn't work. And my main priorities have really been a matter of figuring out how to find a relationship that will result in fatherhood and stable marriage, both for the sake of the two spouses involved and the children and the greater society, because I see some of how that works. And it can be tough to explain to people who inherently don't want to believe it. In fact, it's pretty much impossible to explain things to people who don't want to believe those things. And I've learned that tough lesson over the years. I used to try and explain things to people, and they would argue against it, even to the point of becoming circular. And they're just, you figure out eventually, when it dawns on you that they don't want to come to an agreement on things, they don't want to see the truth, they want to argue. So there's some pretty tough stuff to learn how to present and learn who to present, and to contemplate statements like pearls before swine. Yeah. And so one of the things I'm seeing with these Android apps is they're one-trick wonders. Each little app does one little thing when real software does several things. Another thing is they're very difficult to control because it's touchscreen. You don't have a mouse. There's no mouse with an Android phone. It doesn't mean you couldn't have a wireless mouse. You totally could have a wireless mouse with a cell phone. You could have a wireless mouse and a keyboard with a cell phone. Wouldn't be any trouble at all. Another factor was that there's differences in the way the keyboards for regular computers are used and the way that Android phones are used. I found some things about the analytics, the feedback that YouTube content creators get. And I don't get as much feedback material as the content creators that have lots of views. And there's some distinct advantages and disadvantages. You can pretty much pay your way in. It's kind of like video games where you pay to be the winner, right? There's video games where you are the wizard and you crawl around, and if you put in your paycheck, your credit card, and you put in $50, you get all the diamonds. You could buy the sword that kills all bad guys. Just every bad guy falls down and you're the winner. I kind of find that kind of interesting how that works. And some of that mentality is in the productive software and stuff too. So thank you very much for joining me. This is going to be kind of a plain Jane kind of production. I'm going to put a little leader on this. I have very limited data space on my cell phone, and it started to flake out, and I got a message that after it started to flake out that your cell phone may start acting funny and the apps not work because you're running out of data space. And so yeah, so some of the little things that I've learned to place in there, you may have been, if you've been watching these videos, you're seeing how I'm putting a leader and I'm putting some other functions in there, kind of stacking things together, because I've learned how to combine them with a certain app. And so I can't store all that stuff at the same time unless I'm really diligent about deleting, and it's much easier just to delete it all and start over again. So I'm going to do a little bit of that, and you're going to see how I'm capturing images and I'm putting text on them, and then I'm pasting that on a report like this. And you've seen how I've done weather reports. I don't have access necessarily to importable data, but I'm working on a new concept of a different kind of video, and I've seen some of this in other YouTube videos where people use desktops and they have screen recording and stuff, and I don't have that because it's an Android phone. I don't know if you can get even screen recording on an Android phone. It probably would work terribly, because if one thing I've learned about apps, especially free ones, they work terribly. But there is a way that I can turn screen prints into video and put some commentary on it. And I'm going to go through some of my research methods that I developed a few years ago in Idaho about following trains of information, and chains of information. And I'm going to go through that in a future video. Thank you very much for joining me. God bless. Godspeed. Aim for the stars. Land on the moon.
This is American Nomad News with Astroponics, the science of space-based agriculture.
Okay, so I'm making some progress now that the foggy, rainy weather has quit and the Elmer's glue is starting to actually dry. And I'm going to gently pick this up because I'm still gluing some pieces together. And it's fairly sturdy, honestly, but still just fragile enough. I want to be pretty careful. And if I hold it against the night sky, you can see a pretty good contrast and get an idea of what it looks like. I've got some moss glued inside. Let's see if I can tell this thing to focus. Yep, there we go. And that's to simulate what might be like to have grapevines or herbs or something growing mounted on a strut in there. Eventually, I'm planning to have this to be something of a cylindrical shape, but really in deep space, this system could be used to wrap asteroids. It could be used in a variety of different forms. It's scalable, so it could grow as material is acquired from asteroids. And additional panels added and added and added to contain cellular functions. So if one cell is punctured, the atmosphere and plants and so forth in the other cells are not disturbed, facilitating rapid repair and survival resiliency of the facility. There's a remarkable symmetry to it as you move around, which has another function that I like, in that pathways are possible where a person can pass through or carry things through. Another function of this is that once you have lots and lots of these tessellations, you can create larger voids inside by removing some of the tessellations, some of the scaffolding, and having large spaces open to lightweight centrifugal living environments that do not require the heavy infrastructure that von Braun would require. And I talk about that in some of my other videos. But there's a little segment. I'll toss this in with one of the others in a little while. Thank you for joining me. Darren Marchant with American Nomad News. Technical difficulties! Music show! Mocha!
Mocha. Mocha. Weather and traffic from the Twilight Zone for your listening pleasure. It has just begun raining. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. I can hear the traffic in the distance. I can hear the traffic in the distance. Light. I can hear the traffic. It's light. In the distance. It's light. I am reluctant to go anywhere. Go anywhere. Soon though. Soon though. It has just begun raining. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. I can hear the traffic in the distance. I can hear the traffic in the distance. Light. I can hear the traffic. It's light. It's light. I am reluctant to. I am reluctant to go anywhere. Go anywhere. Soon though. Soon though. It has just begun raining. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. I can hear the traffic in the distance. I can hear the traffic in the distance. Light. It's light. It's light. I am reluctant to. I am reluctant to go anywhere. Go anywhere. Soon though. Soon though. It has just begun raining. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. I can hear the traffic in the distance. I can hear the traffic in the distance. Light. It's light. It's light. I am reluctant to. I am reluctant to go anywhere. Go anywhere. Soon though. Soon though. Soon though. It has just begun raining. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. It's the day after my birthday. I can hear the traffic in the distance. I can hear the traffic in the distance. Light. I can hear the traffic. It's light. It's light. I am reluctant to. I am reluctant to go anywhere. Go anywhere. Soon though. Soon though. Soon though. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It's the day after my birthday. I can hear the traffic in the distance. It's light. I am reluctant to pack up camp, go anywhere. Soon though. It has just begun raining. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It has just begun raining. It is dark. It's the day after.
And though he didn't sponsor this show, I would like you to take a look at Tony's music and pass this guy some love.